You've come under some criticism for not being a lifetime political person in terms of your qualifications. How do you respond to that, and what specific skills do you bring to the table?
As an 1199 executive, which is representing over 8,000 healthcare workers across the state, my responsibilities have included not only advocating regarding healthcare policy and funding in long-term care services, but also negotiating and brokering deals with both small mom and pop nursing home operators as well as with state-based and regional and even national nursing home chains. And in negotiating those multi-million-dollar deals, it has been about having an approach that understands it is critical to know you have to be able to figure out how to compromise, at the same time making sure that you're representing the interests of the people that you represent.
I realize it's early in your campaign, but have you had any discussions with Senator Buono on what your role will be as Lieutenant Governor?
She and I share similar values, and what we're focusing on right now is making sure that between now and November 5th, we have the opportunity to reach out and to speak to every person throughout the state of New Jersey about what's at stake here. There are 400,000 people who are unemployed under a Chris Christie administration. Homeowners have seen their taxes increase by as much as 20%. Chris Christie has forgotten about working class and middle class people, and so between now and November and beyond, what we want to do is put together and lay out to every New Jerseyan the plan and the vision for a New Jersey where middle class families are at the top.
In this campaign, organized labor has kind of been a little bit schizophrenic. Some have endorsed Christie, some have endorsed Buono. Why is that?
I can tell you that the Democratic Party needs to remember that it is everyday working people that are both the lifeblood of the state, it's the lifeblood of the party, and so I think everyday working people have to look at, and will be looking at, what is in their self-interest. Are they doing better today or not? I know that if I am one of the 400,000 that's without a job and still looking for work, if I've seen my property taxes increase, if I've seen the earned income tax credit, which I used to qualify for, no longer be available to me because Governor Christie slashed it, I understand. I'm not in a better place under a Chris Christie administration. Something has to change. And so on November 5th, we hope that working people, and expect that working people, are going to vote their self-interest. They're going to say we need to put middle-class families first. People need jobs. People need to see and some kind of property tax relief, and the only way to do that is to support a Buono ticket administration.
Senator, we heard from Millie Silva about her qualifications to be Lieutenant Governor or, God forbid, step into the role as Governor. As Lieutenant Governor, what would her role be in a Buono administration?
Well, Millie will have an extremely crucial role in my cabinet. We haven't discussed what that is at this point, but I can assure you of that. It will be a crucial role in my cabinet.
What skills does she bring that would help you identify what cabinet position she might be in?
Millie brings a skill set that is sorely needed in state government. She has shown that, and that's what state government is all about. Let's just talk about what her skills are. She has shown that she can be in the center of a pretty horrendous dispute over, whatever the contract is, and she has shown that she can rise above it, can negotiate, can compromise, can consensus build, and then come out with a result that's fair for both sides. I mean, that's the kind of skill set that we need in New Jersey. When a woman who has the vast experience that Millie does in bringing people together, in forging compromises, and in moving the state ahead in terms of working people in New Jersey, why that's singled out as not being enough? And you have to really seriously question where that's coming from.
Are you saying it's a gender?
I'm saying you seriously have to question it.
And Senator, on that, there's also Millie's voting history.
Mm-hmm.
Not voting in the primary. Do you share similar views and that it's irrelevant to the subject?
Of course it's not irrelevant, and I'll let Millie answer that, but I will say this. I mean, Millie has spent, and I will let her address that specifically, but I will say this, that Millie has done more to increase voter participation in the electoral process than Governor Christie can ever hope to. I mean, and I'm sure that, she has, if she could do it again, I'm sure she'd try and add another hour onto the voting hours so she could do it, but I know that she spends from 5 a.m. in the morning until 8 p.m., 9 p.m. at night, ensuring that the elderly, the disabled, those who wouldn't normally be able to get to the polls so easily. She's spent her hours trying to get them to the polls to participate in the electoral process. And did you want to?
Sure. My work at 1199 SEIU has been about making sure that everyone participates in the political process, because we understand that is one of the ways in which we can make change in New Jersey. So typically on election day, my responsibilities included that before the sun was rising, I was out the door to galvanize hundreds of volunteers across the state at targeted districts throughout New Jersey, frankly, and focusing on efforts to make sure that our volunteers were out there ready to knock on doors, to pull people to the vote, and to make sure that, in particular, people who typically might not have the opportunity to vote, especially anyone who's disabled or who's a senior, who is frail and needs a ride to the polls, making sure that I was there and I had volunteers and I had a staff team there to make sure that people came out to vote. So before the sun was rising, I've been out the door on election day, making sure that we had our people out on the street to vote. And frankly, then, the polls close. If I could go back, I would absolutely have said, I need to make sure how to figure out how to get back to my district and to cast my vote. And I'm embarrassed about that, and it is unfortunate. But I'm proud of the fact that as an executive of 1199 SEIU, our record shows that we have the ability to mobilize hundreds, and in the 2009 election, over 1,000 volunteers on behalf of the Democratic Party to make sure that everyone exercised their own right to vote.
Hear, hear. Yes.
And I just want to say one more thing on that issue. If Governor Christie really cared about increasing voter participation, then he would have signed the Early Voting Act. That would have enabled people to vote going into election. That would have increased participation. Anyone?
The campaign also brought up about your work with the Association of Community Organizations for Reform Now. There's been some criticism about that on their end. So what is your response to your work with them and that organization?
More than a decade ago, I worked on a campaign in New York City where the administration had a policy that was asking women who were receiving public assistance to have to drop out of attending community college in order to then go clean up a park or pick up garbage on the streets. When our view was that any person's absolute best opportunity to get out of poverty is to actually get their college education. And so I worked on a campaign whose mission was to really say to the New York City administration that they should reconsider and allow women who are on public assistance to be able to complete their college education, because if ultimately you really wanted to move people out of poverty, it's going to be through education as opposed to having them clean the streets or pick up the park or work in the park. My entire career has been about representing working class and middle class families. As an executive of 1199 SEIU and representing over 8,000 health caregivers across the state, one of my responsibilities is also to be able to work with the people who are providing the care as well as the employers. I have had to negotiate and to broker multi-million-dollar deals with both small mom and pop nursing home facilities as well as with regional and state-based chains and also national chains. We're talking about multi-million-dollar deals. We're talking about having the ability to be able to identify opportunities to partner and to collaborate with the business community in order to be able to make sure that their business is competitive, that it thrives, that they have a workforce that is qualified, right? And also to make sure, though, that at the end of the day, because I do represent healthcare workers, that the workers who are providing the care, that they also have a fair shake, that they can take care of their own families. It is that experience about being able to bring sides together, to identify how you can compromise, how you can make sure that at the end of the day, New Jersey is going to have policies where you're taking care of the state. It's that experience that I bring to the table.
Yes.
How do you think the polls will continue to go in your direction? The polls are still showing you trailing behind. So what is it going to take between now and November?
I'm not going to comment on moving the needles. All I'm focused on, and all that Millie is focused on, and making sure that we touch every New Jersey, and to make sure that they know that there is an alternative to this governor, that we will stand up for them, that there's someone who will support the working class and the working poor in New Jersey, and that message is resonating. You don't have time to think about. That's your job. That's your job to do that political pundit. But we are focused on making sure that people know that there is an alternative, to hear what's on people's minds. And I could tell you this, when we talk to people out on the street, out at the train station, our message resonates. We hear from people that they recognize that this governor's policies are hurting them. And that's why New Jersey has the highest unemployment in the region. So talk about moving the needle. The needle hasn't moved since 2009. We are no better off than we were in 2009. We have the highest unemployment in the region and one of the lowest rates of economic growth and job creation in the nation. And that's not an economic record to be proud of. That's an economic record to be ashamed of.